Now, tomorrow, the Democrat leaders are going to join for a big party out on the National Mall. They're going to descend on our Capitol for their much-anticipated so-called No Kings rally. We refer to it by its more accurate description, the Hate America rally, okay? And I'm not sure how anybody can refute that. If you think about what's going to happen here tomorrow, you're going to bring together the Marxists, the socialists, the Antifa advocates, the anarchists, and the pro-Hamas wing of the far-left Democrat Party. That is the modern Democratic Party. That's where they've gone. And the Hate America rally is the common theme among all those groups. Listen to the language they use themselves. Many of them don't like living in America. They hate capitalism. They hate our free enterprise system. They hate our principles. They hate the ideas that we come in to work every day to fight for, to preserve, in the greatest nation in the history of the world. They hate the idea of individual freedom and limited government. They hate the idea of the rule of law. They fight against it all the time. They hate the idea of peace through strength. They lobby against it all the time. Individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity, the things that lead to human flourishing, the things that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world. They're opposed to law enforcement. They're opposed to military. And their votes show it over and over. That's the collection of voices that you'll hear tomorrow that the Democrats will go out and raise their hands with and cheer with. And some of these people are so blinded by their hatred of President Donald Trump that they can't find one reason to celebrate America or all that we've accomplished and continue to accomplish under this new administration. Now, obviously, every American has every right to exercise their First Amendment freedoms. I'm personally a big advocate of that. I spent the first 20 years of my legal career in the federal courts before I came to Congress defending the right to free speech. They have the right to do it. Republicans, by the way, are the party that fights to maximize your liberty. And we believe, just as our founders did, that every American has been endowed by God himself with unalienable rights, and that includes the rights to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. But tomorrow, this rally is not about freedom. It's about the opposite. For many of our Democrat colleagues, tomorrow is about creating really a spectacle. That's what they've been doing here every day of the shutdown with their little TikTok videos and their publicity stunts, and they're going to do it in a much larger venue tomorrow. And as the shutdown drags on, it's becoming increasingly clear that this spectacle is the reason the Democrats have refused to reopen the government. Just read a sample of the materials that this organizing group has circulated far and wide about the event tomorrow. They distributed talking points cheering on the shutdown. I mean, they're urging this on. They love this. They're cheering on Chuck Schumer's decision to close the government, and their lead organizer said this. This is his words, not mine. Quote, "He hasn't surrendered yet. I call that progress." Maybe that's what led Chuck Schumer to say that every day of the shutdown gets better for us. That's what he said. Since then, Democrats have had their 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th opportunities to reopen the government, and they have obeyed the mob. They have listened to that. On Wednesday, this is pretty ominous. I don't know if anybody's reported on this, but you should. The lead organizer of tomorrow's event issued an open threat to Democrats in Washington, and this is what he said, quote, "The cavalry is coming in on October 18th, and they're either going to be celebrating you or they're going to be calling for new leadership in the Democrat Party." Now, I know who heard that. Chuck Schumer heard it. Hakeem Jeffries heard it. And their actions and their votes show that they are taking that as an order. Evidently, they've decided it's more important to show a fight to President Trump and appease this mob than to reopen the government and ensure the American people are taken care of. It's a binary choice right now. And to the surprise of literally no one, Chuck Schumer confirmed yesterday that he'll attend tomorrow's rally. Of course he will. He gave an impassioned speech on the Senate floor. He urged his colleagues to stand with him and fight against President Trump. The fight is absurd. Senator, you've been in office for 44 years. You've been in Congress longer than that, but you've been in Congress for 44 years, and everybody clearly understands what's going on. You're holding the entire country hostage to protect your own political career. I mean, no one can deny that. And what you're doing is absurd. You're demanding $1.5 trillion new spending instead of the clean, totally nonpartisan CR that you yourself voted for just 7 months ago. The whole charade is obvious. And I also want to point out the irony that is equally clear, okay? As much as we disagree with Schumer and the Senate Democrats and all of that's going to happen tomorrow, no one, not a single person is going to be standing in their way of their right to exercise, assemble, and protest peacefully. That alone is a profound testament to the strength of our republic, to the beauty of America. They are decrying the country that allows them to engage in this activity. And the last time I checked, Americans have more freedom right now to express themselves and speak their minds after Republicans took over and ended the years of having millions of Americans' voices systematically silenced during the COVID pandemic years and the left's cancel culture. It is the Republicans that restored your right to share and speak your mind. And that's the first and most obvious irony of the Hate America rally. The second and even more absurd fact is that all the Democrats who are so angry that they don't control the government are the same people who have decided to shut it down and hand the keys to President Trump. That's the great irony. Chuck Schumer said it himself. I brought just two lines out of his New York Times op-ed that he wrote and published March 18th of this year. And he pointed out there, in a shutdown, this is his words, the Trump administration would have wide-ranging authority. He said there's no check on their determinations on what is essential and what is not. Chuck Schumer put it in writing and published it. He knew this scenario, and he is the one that has decided to hand the keys to the kingdom to President Trump. When you shut down the legislative branch, the chief executive has the authority to make the decisions in the executive branch. He has no choice. They have turned off the funding streams, and they have to triage the situation with federal spending. Everybody on the Mall this weekend should recognize and remember who's responsible for taking the reins of Congress and handing them to President Trump. It's Chuck Schumer. He's the one that's done it, and he can make it stop tomorrow if he had the courage to tell you the truth. But he's incapable of telling the truth right now, and he's doing something that's unprecedented. Never in the history of Congress has a party shut down the government over a clean CR. This is an unprecedented event, and it's inexcusable. And it's Chuck Schumer who's making the decision to keep the government closed. And until the mob and Bernie and AOC and the rest of the socialists give him permission to reopen the government, we're afraid that Americans are going to continue to suffer at the hands of Democrats' political games. I doubt Americans will hear that on the protest stage tomorrow, but that is the truth. And it's why Republicans are here and will continue to be here every single day, sharing the facts with the American people for as long as it takes.